And joining me now is Ayselin Yildiz, who is a UNESCO Chairholder on International Migration at Yaşar University in Izmir, and Maissam Nimer, who is a postdoctoral researcher at Sabanci University, based here in Istanbul. Ladies, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you here. So we see at higher education, less than 1% of refugee students attend universities, compared to 31% at a global level. So Maissam, what could you tell us about this figure? Is this really alarming?
The figure is low, but I think that in the particular case of Turkey, there has been a lot of effort that has been spent and done on facilitating access to higher education. There has been a lot of scholarships that were given by the YTB, by the Presidency of Turks Abroad, through funding from the EU. To give access to a large number of refugees to higher education. There has been even programs that are specifically tailored to teach Turkish for young individuals who want to access higher education. Aged between 18 and 24. So those programs are helping a lot. They're helping this particular segment of people who have maybe come from temporary education centers. So they haven't been to Turkish schools, but to the schools that were particularly catering to Syrians in Turkey. And so they may have not acquired a sufficient level of Turkish before accessing, and those kind of programs help them come up to speed at the level that is required.
Tell me about these temporary education centers. Are they completely integrated with the national system?
In fact, they are not at all. They are pretty much separate. They are teaching...
Is this an advantage or disadvantage?
So at the moment they are teaching according to a curriculum that's not the Turkish curriculum, in Arabic language according to a Syrian curriculum, but progressively they're being faded out. So in a few years, we won't see those anymore. And it's been going in this direction since many years now, since a couple years.
Because Turkey probably thought Syrians are just guests, now they'll stay here with us.
Exactly, it's starting to look longer term. And so in that sense, having a temporary education center for a longer term purpose may not serve the best situation, but integrating them to the schools also requires certain initiatives and certain steps for a healthy integration into the system.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about that. Ayselin, as UNESCO Chair on International Migration, you have also contributed a publication titled Integrating Syrians into Turkish Higher Education Through Recognition of Qualifications, which also compares cases from countries like Norway, the Netherlands, Turkey, Spain, the UK, and Germany. What have you found so far, where Turkey stands when compared to these European countries?
Actually, that publication was an outcome of a project supported by HOPS-MADAT program. And what we find out there is actually Turkey provides, Turkey is an example country for many other countries in terms of providing access to higher education and also integration of those, not only Syrians, but all refugee-like populations. What we find out that Turkey is, currently the number of the Syrian students who are at Turkish universities is nearly 28,000, which is a significant number. So what
do they get quality education?
It depends, but if you compare which departments they are in, it depends. But mostly we see that they are, there is no any official, by the way, an announcement about their departments, but what we observe in the field is they are mostly with medical studies, with dentistry and engineering. Their interests are towards those departments. And also what we see there, Turkey offers some facilitated procedures, especially for transfer students, who were having their education, and then they are, they came to Turkey, and now they need to continue with their education for this. So are
they happy here?
Actually, what we observe, it depends. But, of course, there are some challenges.
Yeah, tell me about those challenges,
one of the challenges is, I think the regular attendance to courses is one of the challenges because they need to work. We offer scholarship programs. That's what we appreciate with YTB. And also Turkey has a very good cooperation with international organizations such as with UNHCR, HOPS-MADAT. So we provide scholarships to support their education. However, they still in need of financial assistance, and the regular attendance to courses is a problem. As far as we see during this project. The second problem might be language obstacle. You know, we need to support them more with Turkish courses.
Yeah, Maissam, tell me about that, please. Tell me about its importance and what Turkey is doing at the moment.
So at the moment, anyone who's above 18, so there are the ones who are in the temporary education centers, they take a few hours only of Turkish. The ones in the regular schools are directly immersed with their peers, with their Turkish peers in Turkish, receiving education in that language. And then above that age, so after they're out of the formal system, or if they're not in the system at all, then their options are limited. They have a few scholarships that are, as Ayselin mentioned, that are from the YTB, from the YTB presidency, and those are just for giving Turkish language through the coordination of UNHCR and with EU funding. They usually give about 2,000 to 3,000 a year out of maybe 8,000 to 9,000 applicants, and they have very strict regulations and conditions. So
like
as
attendance
we said, attendance is one of them. In order to apply, even they have to have a temporary protection status. They have to be registered in the city. They have to be they have to have a certain potential of joining higher education.
That's why we have this facilitated procedures, right?
Exactly, exactly. So then those procedures help in order to overcome the language. There are other programs as well that are free of charge, offered by public education centers, offered by municipality vocational centers, etc. And those are free of charge and accessible, but they're not always very well promoted, and they often do not suffice for higher education. And of course, joining higher education for refugees is of crucial importance, because if they want to have a political, I mean, if they want to have a voice, and if they
want to go back and rebuild their
country, for instance, or have a voice in their host community and back in their country, demanding their rights, etc. So I feel like it's what's being done. There's a lot that's being done. But the percentages are still low, and they could be increased a little more, especially given that they also, even within the host country, once we have a group that is educated and that received higher education, it can serve as a bridge with the community, with their own community and the host community. So it kind of facilitates that kind of dialogue.
Ayselin, is the integration of refugees into higher education a new concept for the world, and how the world is tackling with it?
It's actually, I can say it's not. For some countries, yes, but for some countries, not. Because, you know, some countries, they have high, let me say, experience with international students or migrant students. But refugee is something different, you know, because if you compare an international student, it's voluntary demand, you know, the demand is coming from the student, but with forced migration.
No financial problems.
Actually, yes.
No
So they rationally choose, you know, which university to go or the destination country. But with refugees, that's something different. So in that respect, the integration of refugees is a new field, I can say, you know, and
that we need to
learn. We need to learn from each other. For example, we examined the Norwegian case. They work with very low numbers, but we learned that they have like how to recognize the qualification of refugees. They develop new tools, which is actually in Turkey the same. So I think Turkey can be a country that leads to show the experience, share the experience on how we tackle with that high number of students. That's not only Syrians, by the way, it's expanded to Egypt, Palestinian,
Iranian,
Iraq, and Yemen
Afghan,
students. That's important.
Last question, hundreds of refugees have graduated from Turkish universities, and thousands of them are studying now. What happens to those who graduate? Do they find jobs, and do you have a follow-up on them?
That's, I think this is a very essential question, and there isn't much at the moment that is available. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ayselin, but I feel like it's still very new. The graduates are still in their at the moment. There's the first year of graduates upon us, so I think there needs to be follow-up studies. There needs to be also, they are in different universities, some in Istanbul, some in Karabük, some in. So it's also going to depend on where they are and what kind of. It's going to be important to measure what are their opportunities once they graduate from this mechanism, so that it's not just about taking a course or a university degree, graduating, but also like putting it into practice. And there still remains a lot of barriers that need to be addressed in order to.
I'm afraid we're out of time, ladies. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk. It's good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.